Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today, or this video, is my recent reads for today, Monday. Every Monday, it's my intent to give you a recent reads video. And so last week when I did that video, I think I read 12 or 15 books. I'm not quite sure. I should have looked that up. But for this week, from April 4th to April 11th, I read 10 books. I'm currently at about 50 or 60% into 2 more books. So I kind of probably could have finished those 2 books and made this video tonight, but I just want to make it now. And the 2 books that I'm currently reading, and by the way, the 2 books that I'm currently reading are, I should know, Widow Falls by Kirsten Maudlin, and also Summer at the Cape by Rayanne Thane. So like I said, I'm more than halfway through with both of those books. But we're gonna talk about those on my video a week from today. So let's just talk about the 10 books that I read prior to that. The first book I read was The Pilot's Girl by Catherine Hokin. And The Pilot's Girl, now you guys have seen, hopefully, individual reviews of just about every book that we're going to talk about that I've read, with the exception of one. But The Pilot's Girl was the second book in the Honey Winter series. It's a post-World War II historical fiction series. Now, when I finished that book, I wasn't sure whether or not the series was going to continue, but the author tweeted me to let me know that there will be 2, either tweeted or Instagram, somehow or another, the author contacted me to let me know that there will be 2 more books. So the first book was The Commandant's Daughter, which was about a year ago. And then this one is The Pilot's Girl. And like I said, there'll be 2 more books. So that was the first book I read to start off this last week of reading. And then the next book I read was Crimson Summer. And I had 4 books for Harlequin blog tours. And so the next 4 books we will talk about are for those tours. So they were due between April 3rd and April 9th. And you know me, the procrastinator, got them in on April 9th. So the first one of these was Crimson Summer. And Crimson Summer was by Heather Graham. And this was the second book in the Amy Larson and Hunter Forrest FBI series. Now, they're both FBI special agents, and what they were away on a little holiday or a vacation. They're a couple now, and they got a call that they were needed back in Florida. When they get back in Florida, they discover that there was a gangland war going on, and there was somebody called the Puppet Master, and this individual was alluding to the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. In this case, the rider of the red horse. Although the other horses, the pale horse, the black horse, the gray horse, they were all mentioned, but we have a very serious killer here. But then the other layer to this is that there were gangland wars going on, so the body count was high. And the first book in this series, like I said, was I didn't say it. This is a second book, but the first book was Danger in Numbers. This is Crimson Summer. These books by Heather Graham come out about every year. She has other books that come out, but this series, we won't get the 3rd book until about a year. So that was, like I said, for one of my Harlequin blog tours, and that was from Mirror. That's the publisher, which is like an imprint of Harlequin. Then the next one I read was Summer on the Island, and I think this one was by Brenda Novak. Of course, my device is being slow, but I'm pretty sure this was Brenda Novak. Now, I can't think of she has a series that's based in Alaska. And I love that series. There's 5 or 6 books in it, and I've read it, and this is what made me a Brenda Novak fan. Well, this particular book is women's fiction with romance in it, and this was an excellent book. I gave it 5 stars. And basically, this is about Malo Madsen, who is trying to find closure after the death of her father, and she travels to help her mother. But when she goes, her two friends, Ada and Claire, go with her. Well, Ada and Claire have their drama. Marlo has her drama. And then Marlo sees somebody from her past. And with someone from her past, then that's where the romance comes in. And like I said, that was Summer on the Island. Then the next book I read was A Family Affair, and this is by Robyn Carr. And this was a story about a woman named Anna, and she had 3 adult children, and her husband has died. She has what you call a empty nest. Her 3 children are all living outside of the home, and they're all living their own lives, but there was some drama going on regarding the inheritance that her husband and their father left. And this inheritance involved a 10% portion that went to each child. Well, there was a 4th portion of 10% that went to somebody else. So deduction easily proved that Anna's husband, who had had more than one affair during their marriage, produced a child outside of the marriage bond. And so a family affair brings in a bunch of drama, and it was another good book. It looks like I gave it 5 stars. So that was by Robyn Carr, another Mirror publication. So the next book I read for the Harlequin blog tours was Fool Me Once by Ashley Winstead. Now, this was a Graydon House. So the first 3 books in that queue were from Mirror, but this one is from Graydon House, another Harlequin imprint. And in this women's fiction / romance, we have Lee Stone and Ben Lederman, who are trying to push a clean energy bill. So you have some political atmosphere, you have drama, and you have romance. And then you have the fact that it's a second chance romance, but not without heartbreak. And this actually touches on something very serious as to why they broke up in the first place, and why it is a hindrance as far as what could happen to them now. Really, really good book. I loved it, and I gave that one 4 stars. Then the next book I read was a romantic comedy, and that was called If You Ask Me by Libby Hubschur. Now, If You Ask Me was a really good book. I loved it. And what I liked about that book is the fact that it was a romantic comedy. And basically we have Miss Sweetie, her real name is Violet Covington, and she was an advice columnist. Well, Violet's marriage broke up because she found out that her husband was cheating, and she kind of went off the deep end. And not only did she kind of lose it, but she also used that avenue of that advice column to kind of deal with her. It was kind of like she was her own therapist by means of her column. Meanwhile, one of her actions brought her in contact with Des, who was a fireman, and romance is brewing. But is Violet going to be able to trust again after her husband cheated on her? So that was If You Ask Me. The next book I have not made a video of yet, and I probably will do it after this. I know it's kind of backwards, but this was a different type of book for me. This was called Walking Gentry Home. And the full title is Walking Gentry Home, a memoir of my foremothers in verse by Alora Young. Now, this is a young poet. Goodreads says that she's a college student. She's an actress, and she is obviously a poet. Now, this young woman traced her lineage all the way back to her great-great-grandmother. I don't know how, her great-grandmother. I don't know if it's beyond her great-grandmother, but she goes all the way back to when her ancestor was a slave. And as she writes these poems or writes this book in verse, she touches on each generation So it starts off in the beginning and it keeps going until it gets to her. And what's really cool about this book is it says that it was informed by archival research, the will and testament of a slaver, formal interviews, family love, and even a DNA test. So this was a really, really good book. It doesn't come out until August, so I have already decided to reread it before I may reread it before I do the review, or do the review and still reread it before August, because I think it's a very, very, very good book, and it gives voice to Black girls and women all over America. So that is Walking Gentry Home. Then the next book I read was the 7th book in the Veronica Speedwell series, which was called An Impossible Imposter. And this is by Deanna Raybourn. And as a matter of fact, I just requested another Deanna Raybourn book on NetGalley a few minutes ago. So it's going to be interesting to see me reading her in a different type of a setting. But in this particular book, we have Veronica. It's, I think, 1838. Let's see what year it is. I think it's either 18. Let's find out. I can tell you in 1 second. Well, 5 seconds. Technology. It is 1889. Okay, so it's a historical cozy mystery. And all through the series, which I have read all 7 books in the series, Veronica and her beau, his name is Stoker, they solve crimes and murders. Well, in this particular case, there is no murder. We have someone named Jonathan Hathaway who came back from the dead, because supposedly Jonathan died as a result of a volcano eruption, and he died at the volcano. But now it is, I think, 5 years later, and he comes to the home of his sister and grandmother claiming to be Jonathan. So Veronica and Stoker were asked by the Minister of Special Agent, Minister, or whatever the man's title was to try to find out who this was, because they really believed that Jonathan was killed. But the catch is that when Veronica meets this Jonathan character, she also sees a ghost from her past. So that is An Impossible Imposter. And then I read Her Silent Prayer, and let's see, yeah, I put that one up already. So like I said, all of these are videos, but I'm just reviewing. This is just a summary of all of these books. And so in Her Silent Prayer, which is by Chouinard, it is book number 5 in the Detective Joe Furnier series, and this is about somebody who is killing mothers. Somebody has a vendetta against certain mothers. And so as Joe has her latest case, she ties it into an older cold case. And while this is going on, and while they're trying to figure out who killed these women, there's drama that involves Joe's family, her sister, and how this will impact her relationship with Arnett. So that is Her Silent Prayer. And then the last book that I read in this, for this summary here, is The Cafe at Marigold, Marina, and this is by Tilly Tennant. And I love Tilly Tennant. Her books are always very, very sweet, and that's exactly what this book was. Our character here is a woman who suddenly became a widow, and she's mourning the loss of her husband, but as the book progresses, we realize that she was not happily married. She loved him, she misses him, she's sad that he passed away, but in her flashbacks, she remembers the verbal abuse and the gaslighting. And while all of that is going on, there's somebody that's interested in her, but she hasn't even gotten over the loss of her husband. Well, meanwhile, just before he had died, he bought a cafe, and he was running the cafe, and now she's got to run it. So as she gets ready to run the cafe, she hires somebody. I think the woman's name was Letitia, but Letitia broke a bone and couldn't work for several weeks. So one of the people that worked on the Marina, his name was Kit, he said, hey, my sister is not doing anything right now. She can work for you until Letitia can come, can come to work. So her name was Tabitha. So we have our protagonist, her name was Rosie, and now we have Kit and Tabitha, and we find out how Kit and Tabitha impact Rosie's life while she is dealing with the loss of her husband. So those were all the books that I read, and what I thought I might do is, instead of doing like a recent reads and a TBR, I was thinking to, when I finish my recent reads each week, I would tell you what I want to read next. So that's what I'm going to do now, and I'm just going to summarize them. To give you the titles. I might put the book covers up, I'm not really sure, but I'll just tell you what they are. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'm currently reading Widow Falls by Kirsten Maudlin and Summer at the Cape by Rayanne Thane. So I'm reading those two. Widow Falls is in my NetGalley queue, and Summer at the Cape is for a Harlequin blog tour. And then I'm going to read the next 6 books that I want to read are all blog tours that will take me until April 19th. So next week is the 18th. So hopefully I will get these books read by the weekend. And they are The Breakdown by Ariane Richmond, Murder in the Gardens by Lisa Cutts, Watch Her Disappear by Lisa Reagan. And Watch Her Disappear, by the way, is I think the 14th book in the Detective Josie Quinn series. Love that series. Then we have Silent Little Angels by Jennifer Chase, The No-Show by Beth O'Leary. That is a Berkeley title. The first 4 that I mentioned, The Breakdown, Murder in the Gardens, Watch Her Disappear, and Silent Little Angels, those are Bookature. For Berkeley, I have The No-Show by Beth O'Leary, as I just said, but I also have Take My Hand, and that is by Dolan Perkins Valdez, and that's a Berkeley publication as well. So that will take care of the next batch of blog tour titles I have, and then I've got the books that have been on my queue for several weeks now, and they are Sally Hepworth's The Younger Wife, My 7 Black Fathers by Will Juando. Then I have The Girl from Lamaha Street by Sharon Moss. I also have The Scent of Burnt Flowers by Blitz Bazawuli. And then The In Bloom Anthology by Fern Michaels, Carolyn Brown, and Lori Foster. And then I have this book. I swear to you, I'm going to get this book read. I keep showing it to you, like every second or third video I show you this book. Then I have this one, Unmasked, My Life of Solving America's Cold Cases by Paul Holes. And then I think this is just a regular NetGalley title, is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. And then I just got, while I was at the doctor today, I just got approved for this arc here by Abby Jimenez, Part of Your World, as an audiobook arc. But it comes out, I think, the 19th or the 26th. So I want to get it read so I can get it reviewed before publication date. So that last one, Part of This World, I just literally threw in while I was at the doctor. I was working on my tablet. So those are the books that I want to read next, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to stick to that. And that brings me to 16 books that I want to read in the next week. Will I get all 16 read? Who knows? But at the very least, I'll get those blog tour ones done. And then if I can fit the other ones in, I will. And if I don't, they'll just roll over to the next week. So that takes care of my recent reads and my next TBR. So let's see how this goes. And if it goes well, that's how I will do it every Monday. So that's it for now. So I'm going to edit this video, bring in the book covers so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. And I will be back with more. Bye-bye.